Now, in the state of Maharashtra, at least there is a practice that no judge shall remain at the same place for more than 3 years. But whereas this rule is not made applicable,
Namaskar, this is SHUBHASH, and in the second episode of Nyay Par Charcha in English, we were discussing on the issue of judicial reform, how to have judicial reforms in the country. Now, as I mentioned in the first episode, that making or enacting law is not the function of our judiciary, which it has been embarking upon, which it has been doing. In the name of writing judgments, it has been making laws as if they are the lawmakers. Now, you'll be surprised to know that for trying the lawmakers, for having committed different kind of offenses. So, the Supreme Court in the matter of Ashwini Upadhyay, a noted lawyer and a BJP activist, has rendered number of directions and have directed that there shall be every district in the country shall have fast track courts for trying our lawmakers. So be it lawmakers would mean the state lawmakers, the member of legislative assemblies of any state, or for that matter Rajya Sabha member or Lok Sabha member of Lok Sabha. So every lawmaker will be tried by fast track courts in the country, and then every district in a state shall have one fast track courts. Now, according to the Supreme Court, all the lawmakers or most of the lawmakers are crooks, and therefore they are to be tried fast track. Good, very good initiative. Any wrongdoing, and more particularly by the lawmakers, can certainly be not countenanced, and it has certainly been not taken lightly. But what about corruption by the judges? What about corruption by our judicial officers? Is it not a fact that there is rampant corruption in the judiciary and nothing has been done by the judiciary? Why does not the judiciary ever say that we shall also, if found to have committed any wrongdoing, would be tried or some action would be taken? You will be surprised to know that there is no law. There is no act in the country which could make our judicial officers accountable. There has to be a Judicial Accountability Act, so that under that act, any judicial officer, be he or she a judge of the High Court or Supreme Court, would be tried for having committed any offense, be it corruption or any form of favoritism, nepotism, or any wrongdoings. He or she will be subjected to prosecution in the same manner in which any common man of this country is required to face prosecution. How can you say that you are not accountable to anyone merely in the name of judicial independence? If you're talking about your judicial independence, it is the judicial independence of every lawyer for that matter. You don't leave him. You try him for fall of the hat, or you threaten them with contempt of court proceedings. Now, so far as the member of parliament is concerned, is it not a case that a member of parliament, be it a member of parliament of the Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha, or any member of legislative assembly, it is a question of his independence as well. Or for that matter, it is independence of any individual, freedom of speech and freedom of expression. But yet, do you leave them? Have you ever said that no, they will also be not prosecuted? You forget about their prosecution. Whenever there is persecution, the courts doesn't come to rescue of its citizen. And whereas there is no law under which they could be prosecuted, the judicial officers could be prosecuted. Chanakya, in my assessment, was the most brilliant and intelligent person to have ever born in this universe. Chanakya, what Acharya Chanakya had suggested for our judicial officers. For judges, he had suggested that there has to be surveillance on every judge. So there would be surveillance, and the surveillance would be conducted in such a way, and it would be reported to the king. And if any judge, any judicial officer is found to be involved in any wrongdoing, then the punishment which would be meted out to him would be death punishment. Now, let there be no death punishment to judges, our judges, but there has to be some punishment. How can you be immune from punishment? How can you say that there will not be any punishment to you merely because you happen to be judges? You have to be made accountable in the same way. You are at par that way with every other citizen of the country. If any other citizen or common man is to be prosecuted, so also you. You also deserve to be prosecuted for indulging in any wrongdoing. I will give you an example of how things are happening. Now, way back in 1981, in S.P. Gupta's case, the Supreme Court's Constitution bench had said that there has to be 1/3 judges transferred from different high courts, so as to maintain a balance. Now, after that judgment, more than 50 years have passed by. Now, in 50 years, there have been downfall in every walks of life, be it any profession, be it any trade, commerce, industry, be it any profession you name, and that there has been downslide. So can it be said that there is no downslide in the judicial system? There have been. So something what was said way back in 1981 as well is equally applicable now. Things have gone from bad to worse. What was said, what was argued when the Supreme Court said that 1/3 judges should be from outside the state? Why was it said? It was said because it was realized that the judges do form their coterie. They do form their syndicate. They are influenced by the lawyers who are practicing. And look at the irony. A judge would be appointed in A High Court or B High Court and C High Court. He will serve the system for 10 years, 15 years, depending upon the tenure. And then he will retire from the same High Court. What is the irony? Look at a magistrate, for example, or a judge or in a lower judiciary. Say, for example, if a junior judge is appointed, a civil judge is appointed. Now, in the state of Maharashtra, at least there is a practice that no judge shall remain at the same place for more than 3 years. But whereas this rule is not made applicable to higher judicial officers. How can you be judge in the same high court where you are appointed by a totally, completely flawed system of being appointed by the collegium? So you are appointed and you serve the institution for 15 long years, and you say that you are here to serve the judiciary. I'm suggesting you something much better. Really you want to, and there are many, I'm so sure that there are many hundreds and thousands and lakhs of people who are ready and willing to really serve the institution. But they are not appointed because they don't have the kind of pull or connect which is required for being appointed as a judge in the High Court, or for that matter in any judiciary. Now, if there is no pull, you will not be taken up in the High Court. So therefore, if there is a law for transfer, now way back in 1981, so things have gone from bad to worse. Why not to have 100% transparent and 100% transfer system? No judge who is appointed or drawn from bar A shall remain as a judge in the same High Court. He has to be necessarily transferred to some other High Court, and vice versa. Otherwise, how do you do justice? How do you think that there will not be any coterie? How do you think that there will not be any syndicate, groupism, and with all sort of problems, corruption, with which every human is inflicted with? Can it be assumed and presumed that if there is rampant corruption in the country, and therefore there has to be, according to the Supreme Court, fast track court to try our lawmakers. So why should not there be such fast track courts to try you as well, my lords, if you also commit or indulge in any wrongdoings, or merely because you have become judges, you are immune from all the ills with which humans are inflicted with? The answer to that is no. You also have all sort of a problems with which a human can face with or could be inflicted with. So if humans or countrymen in our country are faced with the problem of or inflicted with the ills of corruption, how can you be immune from there? You could also be part of the same, you are also part of the same society, where from other organs of the society, other members of the society are drawn from. You are also drawn from the
same society. So you can never claim to be immune from such ills. So therefore, not only 1/3 judges, but 1/3 judges are also not transferred. 1981 judgment of the Constitution bench is gathering dust, and it is not happening that 1/3 judges we find from different high courts. They remain in the same high court, retired from the same high court, and nobody bothered, neither the government bothered to ensure that the judgment of the Constitution bench itself is implemented or it is reviewed. Why after 53 years, 52 years, 53 years now, why the judgment of the Supreme Court is not required to be reviewed? Why not there should be why only 1/3 transfers? Let there be 100% transfers of these judges to different high courts, and let there be live streaming. Now this is one of the most gray area. Why can't we have live streaming of all the proceedings of all the high courts, and it will be live streaming hooked to YouTube or some other channels or some other platform, electronic platform, where let the world see what happens in each court, and let there be a record maintained of that for years to come, for the generations to follow, as to how a judge conducts himself in the courtroom. So therefore there has to be live streaming of all the court proceedings. And I'm saying that if you don't want to get transferred, or transfer could be a problem on the ground of language. Say for example, people coming from South India or judges coming from South India may not be conversant with Marathi, or may not be conversant with Hindi or similar other languages, and vice versa. What is the solution? The solution is given in the Constitution itself. The language of every high court is English. And every high court is supposed to have a translation department. Any document which is found, how many cases we think that the documents really are required to be translated? Now even if those documents are required to be translated, let the lawyers, how do we do it in the Supreme Court? Don't we translate the documents which are required to be filed in the Supreme Court in English, from whatever languages, from wherever it goes to? In the same manner, let there be translation. It could create some difficulties, but the benefit which will endure would be tremendous. Now let there be crisscross hearings, faceless hearing. And this master of the roster concept again is a flawed concept which was perceived in the 80s. Now with the passage of time, possibly we need to have a relook. Why there should be master of the roster? Nobody should be master of the roster. The roster or the matters which are filed in any high court or Supreme Court will be decided not by the Chief Justice but by the computer. Let the computer randomly segregate the matters and send it to any court. Say for example, Bombay High Court matter would be heard by Delhi High Court. Delhi High Court matter will be heard by Calcutta High Court, or Calcutta High Court matter will be heard by Madras High Court, or Madras High Court will be heard by Patna High Court. So nobody would know what is happening where, who is hearing the matter. Every ills, or most of the ills, or corruption, which is the most burning issue today, will get rid of Now, I was listening incidentally to a recent interview of the Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, given to a group, a South channel group in the country. Two things which he said, and we must draw an inspiration and clue therefrom. Two things which he said. He said that we found that class 3, class 4 employees used to be selected on the basis of interviews. So the interview would last 30 seconds. So according to the Honorable the Prime Minister, in 30 seconds it was impossible for anyone to judge the ability or capability of a candidate. So therefore it is a flawed system. It is impossible that in 30 seconds you can judge a candidate. And that interview of 30 seconds used to give opportunities for speculation, for corruption. And the candidates who were not required to be selected or could not have otherwise been selected were selected. The bribe was done away with. The Prime Minister said that for class 3, class 4 employees, there shall not be any interview, and the selection of the candidate will be based on pure merits or the numbers of marks which they have secured. Now, this is one way. Now, you'll be surprised to know that the average time in which the Supreme Court decides matters. Now, there is live streaming, and if you don't believe me, at least go and visit some of the Supreme Court. Anybody willing and wishing to see what happens in the Supreme Court can log in to the Supreme Court website and see how our judges in the Supreme Court are functioning. The average time somebody has made an in-depth study to find out that every matter in the Supreme Court is decided within 93 seconds. This is the average time. So in 93 seconds, one SLP, special leave petition or petition filed under Article 32 is decided and disposed of. Is it possible that if you can't, the Prime Minister of India is right, that if it is impossible for class 3, class 4 employees to be selected within 30 seconds, then it is impossible as well to select a candidate in to decide a matter in the Supreme Court in 93 seconds as well. So what has been happening for years is a totally flawed system under which the Supreme Court has been disposing of the matters. I'm sure it is impossible for any judge, even of the Supreme Court, to decide and deliberate and to understand the complexity of every matter and decide it properly within 93 seconds. Impossible. And according to the Prime Minister, they were not so intelligent or extraordinary that you could decide within 30 seconds. I'm sure if Acharya Chanakya also comes, or Bhagavan Brahma comes, or Lord Ganesha comes, then also it will be impossible for them to decide in 93 seconds. But my lords have been deciding the matters in 93 seconds. This is a completely flawed system, and this has to be given a complete relook. The Parliament must look into it and decide and deliberate as to how the Supreme Court should be functioning. Is it possible for any judge to understand the matter, because they claim to have read the matter, and it has been my experience. I have been appearing in the Supreme Court as well for more than 25 years now, and I've seen recently, this year itself in 2024, I must have appeared in at least 20 odd matters. I'm so sure that these judges do not even able to understand the matter. They can give an impression of having understood the matter, and they start with no, no, no. They feel that whatever has happened in the High Court must be right. This is absolutely wrong. What you are doing, my lords, is absolutely wrong. Think of the litigant who has spent his life, his career, and he has spent a hell lot of a time fighting for litigation which must have spanned to 2 decades or 3 decades or 4 decades, and then he reaches to the Supreme Court, finds that his matter is decided within 93 seconds. This is how you're going to deal with matters. The Parliament must step in and make every judge, even of the Supreme Court, accountable. If you think that I am wrong, I give challenge. Let the sitting judges of the Supreme Court, forget about High Court, let the judges of the Supreme Court, the present or the past, those who claim that we can decide matter in 93 seconds, let there be the test check. And I'm saying that most of these judges who are required to answer before the camera that what they have understood about the matter, they would fail miserably. Let us do a test check. Let us pull out those 500 matters which have been disposed of, and then these matters be assigned to the sitting judges or the judges of the Supreme Court who have recently passed or recently retired in the past couple of years, and let them do it in front of camera under public glare, and let them decide the matters within 93 seconds. Why 93 seconds? I'm saying you take 10 minutes for each and every matter, and then you satisfy the people of this country that you have understood the matter and what you have done is doing a justice. In my assessment, these judges will fail and will fail miserably. We have been following a completely flawed system, and the system needs to be reversed. Thank you very much for the second episode. Now, in the third episode, we would be discussing about another facet of judicial reform. Thank you very much.